Hi, welcome to my journey. Uh, Last night I ran across Daniel Steele's book called Magic, right? So I'm listening to the audio book, right? And they got several scenarios about love, right? And the things that we do for love, right? So anyway, uh the one that kind of hit home to me was the fact that there was this matriarch. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I was intrigued by the whole, the name Magic, right? I was intrigued that these people had, their ceremonies, right? This is a time of year that they had their ceremonies. In Paris, yes. And it's an all white exclusive event, right? When they show up, they bring everything with them, and when they leave no trace. I'm like, oh wow, right, wow. So I was intrigued, right? Because you know how we do things around here. It just seemed like, yeah, there's a whole setup, places have to be blocked off, you got to get a permit and all of this other stuff. But these people didn't. These people, they had a lot of money. These were like, you know, rich people. These were rich people, and some of them was wealthy. Okay, so anyway, this book, was talking about these different people of these different families that were all involved in the Vogue, yeah, the Vogue fashion industry, and of course, they also, were involved with, textiles and fabrics. And I'm like, of course, right? Of course, because you can't have one without the other, right? It doesn't make any sense to be sitting up here making all of these, flimsy clothes, and then expect to make money off of it. No, you have to have quality material, quality textile, right? So I'm listening, I'm intrigued, and oh no, we're not getting on the interstate. We're not. So anyway, the matriarch of this one family, right? Her man was a philanderer, right? And then there was another man who was a philanderer, and another man who was a philanderer, and gotta keep my eye out. Gotta watch out for these other people out here. Today we got rainy, 54 degrees. Yes, it's raining. We needed the rain. we did. We needed the rain more than we needed any kind of, icy cold weather. But because it's raining out here, people be slipping and sliding and not paying attention like they should be paying attention. There's something about the rain that makes people, not pay attention like they should. Maybe it's because they don't have the windshield wipers on, or the windshield wipers are just distraction. So anyway, now while I was listening to this book, right, my mind kept flashing back to when I was at Walmart, right? Because there was this, I guess, kind of shiny dude. There was this shiny dude, and we were both looking at the pies together. And I was looking at him, and I could see he was a mature man, right? And yet, it looked like he had on all these medals, and he was wearing like khaki and red and gold, and me, I'm out here with my red and black talking about I'm dangerous. So that could be why, instead of trying to spark a conversation with me, he decided, to take the approach of passivity and only speak when spoken to, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I was thinking about, I was thinking about asking him, oh, are those pies good? Right, I've eaten those little small pies, the little small pies they have at Walmart for 49 cents. But the mere fact that he was looking at those little small pies made me think that this was a single man. Okay, because he's looking at little small pies. And strange and weird thoughts went through my head like, yeah, you could make a pie better than any of those pies. And I was like, what the hell? I ain't making nobody no pie. I better shut my ass up, look to see if they got some salad that you want, and keep it moving. Right? But then I go home and I start listening to Danielle Steele, right? Danielle Steele is a romance novelist, right? She writes love stories, right? And so she starts writing this story about, these people, right? And the one thing that, really hit home to me about this matriarch was the fact that the matriarch, she was very giving. She was very caring. She was very, family oriented, even though, she didn't have a man, right? And, right, somehow or another, there was a young man attracted to her, right? Way younger than her. Yeah, like young enough to be her son. And it made me think how, throughout my life, there's always been, an inspiring young man, because, oh my God, the love of an innocent man that, hasn't been heartbroken and hasn't been, what do you call it? brainwashed into believing that love was just a fantasy, it wasn't real. Well, yeah, the love of, young men who are already tainted, it's awesome. It really is. It's awesome. And a lot of times, for me, during those times that I had even entertained, my attention to give them attention, right? It's usually because I was, not feeling great. All right? Was not in a very good particular mood. It wasn't happening like that. All right? So, but the flattery, the optimism, the energy of the young men, that had spent time with me, pulled me out of my mood, right? Because I definitely was in a mood, right? And sometimes I'll get stuck in a mood. And anybody who's been around, young boys or young men, I mean, nowadays, boys are targeted by older men, not to feel, not to give in to love. They tell them that, that it's just an illusion. Don't do it, and yeah, it's like that. All right, and so by the time you come across them, they already have these preconceived notions. They already have these barriers of what they're not going to do, yeah. So it's not even worth, it's not even worth it, right? The juice ain't worth the squeeze, right? So, anyway, this older woman, was being pursued by this younger man, right? And this younger man, was relentless, right? He was relentless. And we kind of see something like that going on in the spiritual community. How there's this younger man who is calling out in the spiritual community to find this older woman that he swears up and down that he's in love with, right? Now, let's be honest. There are a lot of older women out here who have been targeted by younger men, for scamming, right? They've been a target of scams. that's one thing that a lot of women have to understand, that yes, you can be targeted, be scammed by a younger man, because these younger men, you know believe me, they're desperate, right? They're willing to do anything, including lay down with another man, just because they think that that's the only way they can survive. Anyway, getting back to the story, right? It just felt like all my life, people were telling me that there was nobody, good enough for me. I'm like, there's nobody good enough for me? And they're like, well, there's probably somebody good enough for you, just not that man that you're with. And it was always just not that man, right? Whoever I was with, it was never good enough. And I was like, yeah, that's true, because I was going after the ones that I thought had potential, right? Oh, look at there, senior living. So what are they doing? Are they giving these seniors like vouchers? What are they doing? Yeah. So, and definitely, younger men will express themselves emotionally way faster than say an older man, right? As they get older, it's like they get a lot more quieter, right? When they're young men, it seems like they just yap all day long, right? Then as they start getting older, they stop yapping so much. And then a lot of them, when they get old, they hardly talk to anyone. Yeah, that's sad. But, it is what it is. Would I have had a conversation with that man if he had looked up and talked to me? I probably would have. I probably would have talked to him. And the main thing I wanted to find out about is, why was he dressing so flashy? Because, this guy was wearing red and tan and had all of these, like, golden little, I don't know what it was. I didn't look too close. I really didn't. I didn't know if they were medals of military, or I wasn't even sure. Right? But even if it was, my mind was still wondering why. Why was he out here in this uniform or costume? Okay. All right, getting back to what I was talking about. So anyway, what ended ended up happening is hours and hours and hours of drama, right? Kids was getting married, kids was, doing their thing, having babies and, being in relationships, right? But the kids felt like, well, mom shouldn't be in a relationship. Mom, shouldn't have nobody. Mom should be happy that she had kids, right? And only one of the kids was like, y'all don't even be spending no time with mom. Why y'all be wanting mom to be alone? Why? Right? And it made me think about my mom, right? My mom, dated a man that was the same age as my older brother. Okay, let me see. I want this car to go around. My mom dated a man that was the same age as my older brother. My older brother couldn't stand it, right? And I think my older brother kept saying that, this guy was just trying to use my mom. And, it was really weird on how, my brother had really felt threatened, right? And I'm like, what the hell? Mom's been alone for so long. Look at her. She's happy, right? My mom had bought her a truck. She lifted that truck put lifters on the truck that put her truck like 3 feet above, the ground. And I remember when I had went to go visit her, right? Me and her, she was racing in her truck, and I was just riding along trying to keep up with her, shocked and amazed that my mom was out here in a monster truck speeding down the back roads. Yes. And she had her a young man. And I'm like, yeah, go mom, go mom, go mom, right? And however, that was not the reception that she was, getting from other people. My mom was in a relationship with this man for, I think it was like 15 years. Happy, right? It was like she had, she was able to live a life that she never was able to live before. But even if she had lived it for a little while, it was a beautiful thing, right? And I never figured out, what happened, right? What happened? And come to find out that what had happened was my brother ended up fighting with this man. And I'm like, what? Why? Right? What happened? And I couldn't get no good answer. I could not get a good answer as to why, my brother and this man had fought. I could not get a good answer. Right? And this man I guess he must have gave my mom like an ultimatum, right? To either try to put my brother in his place, or he was going to leave. And I guess my mom chose her grown ass son, because he was grown by then, real grown. This is a nice senior living here. Yeah, I like this senior living home. It's in a nice location down here. It seems so nice and quiet and calm. Wait a minute. I thought this was senior living. And yet there's this guy running in the parking lot. He looks like he's like 20. No, see, that's the type of stuff I don't want. I don't want to go and live in a senior center thinking that, it would be seniors here, and then, the seniors got all of these parasites living with them, right? I mean, that's what I wouldn't want. Now, if they had some visitors, family members, that are there trying to, make her life easier, if she had an operation or something like that, that's cool. But, let me see, hold on. So, yeah. So now I'm sitting here in this community of 55 plus, thinking that they also distribute food, but they got babies living here. Yeah, they got babies living here, and I don't know. I tell you, it's really hard. I don't know how they manage to find these places, these food banks and food pantries. I don't know how they do it. Huh. Uber's offering rentals on Teslas, $265 a week for a premium EV. Premium EV. Standard EV $250. I didn't sign up for Boost. did not sign up for Boost. It said I signed up for Boost to work. What day is this? Oh, that was yesterday. And that woman definitely doesn't look 55 years old. But she could be. She could be. Maybe what I did wrong is maybe what I did wrong is I said food banks for seniors. Maybe that's what I did wrong. That's probably what I did wrong. And so it took me to senior living. Right. Yeah, it says head in parking only. Let's see. It's Shiloh Baptist Church. Oh yeah, that was way downtown. I wasn't gonna go there. St. Philip's. Okay. So they do have some nice some nice senior living places. Some of them are nice, right? Like this one. It looks nice. But then while sitting here, you know, I'm starting to see that it's not just seniors that will be living there, right? Because I've been watching, there's young people, young adults. There was even some children, and so yeah, I mean, I do feel some kind of way about it. I do feel some kind of way about it because you're thinking, you go to a senior community thinking that this is going to be protection, right? This is going to be a safe place. How is it a safe place when they have all of these other people there that doesn't really belong there? That's what I don't understand. That's exactly what I don't understand. Because my thoughts are, yeah, senior living, everybody here should be old, right? If you wanted a regular apartment complex, you would be living in a regular apartment complex. Now, right? You want all of the rights that a regular apartment complex has, that's where you should go. To a regular apartment complex. And that just makes sense to me, right? You don't sit up here and try to tell, a whole community that they're supposed to let children, young men, and other adults, live in this community, but under your name. Why would you do that? Right? You just need to tell them, hey, you're not going to get kicked out behind their asses. And of course, they'll sit up there and say, well, nobody has to know. But it's obvious. All you have to do is just sit like I was sitting. Sit there, right there in the parking lot, and just watch who's coming and going. And when people are coming and going at 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, you know, you kind of feel like either they spent the night there or they lived there or something's going on. Right? Because me just sitting there, I'm like, okay, it would be something, it would be another thing if what I was looking at was seniors coming and going. But that's not what I was seeing. What I was seeing was everything but seniors coming and going. And I'm like, oh no. You know, if I'm going to a senior community, you know, I want it to be seniors. I don't want it to be anything else. And if it is, I feel like I've been gypped. I feel vulnerable. And here's another thing. Just the mere fact that those people are coming and going under the radar makes me feel even more vulnerable. Like, oh my God. So these people are, you know, thinking that they running around in their senior community like ghosts. That's not a good feeling at all. It's not. That's the type of feeling that makes you say, why are you, well, you know, you can say that, well, the reason why, you know, you're not on the lease and the reason why, you know, you have to stay here and all this and that and the third. But why are you at a senior community? Oh, because they're the only ones that will help you? They're the only ones that couldn't tell you hell no? And if you turn around and say some bullshit like, oh, they were lonely and I'm just here to, you know, keep them company, that's you being a predator. You seeing a vulnerability and you're taking advantage of it. And this is what you're telling the world. Now it's a whole nother subject if it's, you know, grandma talking about she was lonely and she just wanted you to come help her and live with her. That's different. All right? That's different. But for you to turn around here and say somebody's lonely and they just needed your company, nah. Don't be saying that bullshit. That's some bullshit lies. And even if it was the truth, why would you be so indignant to put somebody's vulnerability out there like that? So I done seen about 3 different senior living places. And I think that the senior living, the way that they require you to qualify for the senior living is your rent has to be half of your income. Me personally, I think that's the way they should make the average rental rent control. It's where, you know, they force it to be that a person can qualify for rent based off of, you know, half of the, you know, that their income is twice as much as the rent. And when it comes to senior citizens, you know, I think they should allow the senior citizen to show that they basically can, you know, can pay for, you know, the rent and utilities. You know, to sit up there and expect them to, you know, I don't know. I don't understand how you can turn around and expect people to have an income and then tell them that, you know, they're too old to work. And sure, there are people out there that, you know, have resources. Pensions, IRAs and stuff like that, right? There are people out there that have that. But to me, a lot of those people, you know, if it's fixed, it's fixed. Oh wow. This is gonna have me go this way. Ooh. 50 feet. 400 feet. So this here is supposed to be a food bank. I'm seeing some cars over there. They look like they're lined up. So I'm thinking I should be over there. Over there? Over there. That's what I'm thinking. Why else are they lined up? Yep, that's why they're lined up. They all lined up to get something. I'm gonna line up too. Ain't snaking around here. It's a lot of people here. So this is like my first time, right? Going to one of these mobile pantry distributors. And they're like, you need to come in your vehicle, and you need to have the room in your vehicle to get this food, and they don't want no mess. So we're gonna see what we can pick up, a lot of this, you really have to be patient. You have to look for these places, and but I'm here at this food bank. So that's what I've been checking out. I've been checking out, some senior living situations. First I'm just sort of just driving by. That was the first time, I went to a senior community and just sat there for a little while, because it felt pretty good. The apartments seemed fairly new, and I seen that they had some other senior living homes that were new. Um, and I don't even know what I would do about my dogs if I had to go into senior living. Just don't know what I would do with my dogs. Because I'm telling you, if it wasn't for my dogs, I probably wouldn't even get out of bed. I'm serious. Because I get up out of bed early in the morning every day to let them out and to feed them every breakfast, right? Sometimes I go back to bed. But today I did not go back to bed. Today I just came out here to see what was up, you know. Um, but like I said, I don't think I would be happy, you know, having to go live in a senior community and not be able to take my pets and also feel vulnerable because the other residents have all of these other people staying with them, right? And these people are like ghosts because they're not on the lease. You know, they're not registered, not even as, you know, a visitor coming to stay for 2 weeks. You know, I don't even know how, you know, like a young adult running back and forth in the parking lot is even possible, you know, at a senior center. How is that possible? Right? So, you know, it's like, I don't know, it just seems like these things just get perverted, you know, from what, you know, they were designed to do just because, right? This might be the law, but it gets perverted because, you know, these guys, they don't want to follow the law. Oh, I think they're getting ready to start. It's like this lady is going around to different cars. I don't know what she's telling them to do. Some of them, you know, they're opening up. One person opened up their trunk. She's saying something to some people. I don't know what she's saying. I want to know what she's saying. I mean, I feel halfway safe in my home, you know, because I have my dogs. And I truly believe that if my dogs felt as if, you know, they needed to protect the home, they would protect the home. The puppy is just learning, but you give her like 2 or 3 more months, yeah, she gonna be, well, she's starting to protect the home already, right? She's starting to you know, go to the fence when there's somebody passing by. She's starting to bark if somebody comes to the door. Hold on. And she's halfway trained, right? She pees on the training pads. Now, taking a crap, not so much. She takes a crap near the training pads. I don't know why she doesn't do both duties in the same place. I don't know. But